Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are diving into a really incredible business case study about a company that took an absolute nightmare of a management dilemma and turned it into a high-tech triumph. I mean, have you ever looked at your team and thought, we are stretched way too thin across entirely different goals? Well, today, we're going to look at a company that solved exactly that problem. And honestly, the way they did it is truly fascinating.
Picture this. Sales manager Tyne Ravon is staring out at the moonlit Goda Canal, wrestling with what feels like an impossible question. How in the world do you stretch a single resource pool across completely divergent demands? He's got to grow a fashion division, scale a technical division, crack complex new global markets, and somehow keep his existing global clients perfectly happy. It's the ultimate push and pull scenario, right? So many businesses face it, but very few actually figure it out.
What makes this particular situation so brilliantly tricky is that he's trying to satisfy two totally different worlds at the exact same time. Think about how crazy it is to sell high fashion and heavy industrial safety gear from the exact same office. On one hand, you have the highly creative, inspiration-driven fashion industry, and on the other, a strictly regulated, compliance-critical technical sector. Trying to serve both with the same core team seems, well, almost impossible. So, to answer Teen's question, here's our roadmap for today. We'll look at the resource dilemma, their industrial metamorphosis, how they specialized to beat the giants, the hyperpersonalization strategy, building the data engine, and wrap up with 4 strategic lessons. All right, part 1, the resource allocation dilemma. 4 competing demands. Tyne is literally being pulled in 4 directions simultaneously. He has to grow 2 totally distinct divisions, expand globally into places like the Middle East and South America, and maintain a high level of innovation. And the kicker? He has to do all of this without magically expanding his foundational resources. There's no blank check here, folks. He has to make do with what he already has. Moving on to part 2, an industrial metamorphosis, from textiles to high-tech. Now, what I love about this is that they didn't just throw away their history. Instead, they took decades of standard textile knowledge, things like cutting, welding, and sewing commodity fabrics, and cleverly redeployed those core competencies into highly demanding, low-volume technical sectors. Today, they act as a high-tech engineering partner doing precision manufacturing for fields like aerospace and defense. They even boast rigorous ISO 9001 certification, which is literally the global gold standard for quality management. And this shift wasn't just for show either. If we look at the data, we see a massive surge in technical revenue. We're talking a compound annual growth rate of nearly 28%. That decisively overtook their fashion sector, which, get this, they deliberately let absorb a 48% decline. This was a highly intentional crossover to prioritize high-value engineering over traditional apparel. Which brings us to part 3, specializing to beat giants. The protective textiles. So how do they actually win against massive multinational material giants? Through sheer specialization. They're crafting safety-critical fabrics, where a failure literally costs lives. They engineer these highly specialized welding and heat protection fabrics, designed specifically to block molten metal penetration and resist ignition. They also make these incredible, inherent fire-resistant inner layers. This is huge because it acts as a protective barrier right next to the worker's skin for high-impact workwear. And this is the genius part. It does so without sacrificing worker comfort. It's this perfect, delicate balance of ultimate safety and everyday usability. Then there's the extreme energy solutions. These are fabrics rated to survive massive electrical arc flashes. If you're not familiar, an arc flash is basically a sudden, explosive electrical discharge. When you're dealing with that level of immense energy, you absolutely need highly specialized gear, and Tekstina engineers exactly that. And they don't even stop there. They actually combine those arc flash resistances with waterproof membranes for outdoor electrical work. Think about how specific that is. It just proves their immense agility in niche manufacturing. They aren't just mass-producing one thing. They are customizing safety for very specific environmental hazards. Now, here's a crazy stat to put things in perspective. They hold just 0.2% of a massive $3.5 billion fire-resistant fabric market. You might think, wow, that's tiny. But that tiny fraction actually highlights their strength as an agile underdog. They don't need massive scale to win. By focusing purely on highly certified premium European manufacturing, they secured giant blue-chip clients like Audi, Enedis in France, and the UK's National Grid. All right, let's jump into part 4. The hyper-personalization strategy, refracting the resource pool. Okay, this is where things get super fascinating. How do they pull this off? They use a strategy called hyperpersonalization, treating it sort of like a prism. For the fashion buyers, they deploy AI to create predictive trend-matching mood boards, which speeds up prototyping by up to 40%. But for the technical buyers, that exact same AI engine provides strict, risk-based configurations. A buyer plugs in their workplace hazards, and the system automatically spits out a fabric spec that perfectly complies with complex safety standards. It's the exact same core system, creating two entirely different, customized experiences.
Part 5. Building the data engine. Enablers and guardrails.
You don't just flip a switch and have AI do all this. They had to build this machine layer by layer. First up, a unified data infrastructure, pulling all their CRM and transaction history into a single customer data platform. Second, the AI orchestration, using machine learning to customize the web and email experience. Third, they organize their people into specialized sales pods, trend analysts for the fashion side, and safety engineers for the technical side. And finally, robust, transparent data governance to make absolutely sure they're meeting strict privacy laws like GDPR all over the globe.
Finally, Part 6. 4 strategic lessons. Takeaways from the case.
So what can we actually take away from all this? First, your core skills can pivot to completely new industries, like how their textile knowledge became aerospace engineering. Second, shifting your revenue streams should be a highly deliberate choice. Third, tiny companies can absolutely outmaneuver multi-billion-dollar giants through intense focus and certification. And fourth, AI personalization isn't just a shiny marketing trick. It literally solves fundamental management bandwidth problems by doing the heavy lifting of client customization.
Which brings us right back to Tyne Ravon's profound realization. He saw that by using data and AI as a prism, his small, stretched team could cast infinite, personalized beams of value to entirely different industries. So I'll leave you with this. If you were facing your own massive resource dilemma today, what kind of prism would you need to build to transform your business? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope it sparks some great ideas for you.